And now to weigh in on this explosive case, one of the stars of Grey's Anatomy, Jesse Williams. We are very delighted to have Jesse with us tonight here on this show. Thank you for joining us. This is a case that has captivated the nation. Everybody waiting on pins and needles to find out what this jury is going to do. So far, they've deliberated 11 hours and 43 minutes. Why is this case important to you?
Well, I think it's important because people are tired. I think people feel tired of this criminalization of the black body. I mean, it's a tradition in this country, and people are kind of just feeling fatigued about constantly having to go through this all year, every year, since the beginning of this, the founding of this nation. This is a tradition in this country when people are able to go ahead and kill black people because they got sassed, because we were inconvenienced, and we become a victim of a fantasy. Your fantasy somehow has become more, and obviously I don't mean you, but this fantasy of what the black body does and can do has become more important than the reality, and we pay for it with our lives, and it's disconcerting, obviously.
Well, I mean, some would hope that cases like this are an aberration and that the arc, toward justice is slow and bumpy, but it aims toward progress and equality and justice. We have an African-American president. I mean, as an African-American man, do you feel any stress as a result of cases like this?
Stress?
Well, in other words, that it affects your day-to-day life. Cases like the George Zimmerman case,
sure
cases
does.
like how?
Sure it does. Well, I mean, and I will say, obviously, better than awful is an improvement, I guess, but it's still awful. And so these things it's certainly going to continue to be frustrating. I think also what I find, people that I talk to, I spend a lot of my time doing a lot of work around creating opportunity, access, and education for people of color, particularly black males. And in the conversations that I'm having and the work that we're doing, we find that people are also, looking to find support and not feel like we are the only ones, and kind of tired of feeling like this is a black problem. It's not a black problem. This is a white problem. This is an American problem. This is a societal problem where people should be outraged when a man is able to instigate an interaction with kids and then shoot them when it doesn't go well. It should be an outrage for everybody. We shouldn't have to, people were certain that OJ was guilty, positive, and we can crack jokes about it for years, but people are kind of on the fence and kind of, cowering in break rooms and not talking about this case. I think it was really telling that the defense attorney today said that this wouldn't really even be, a household case if it wasn't for the Zimmerman trial, which really goes a long way to explain that how much, the indifference around black life. So we're only talking about this not because a life was lost or because a man shot 10 bullets into a car full of children, but because of some other case. I mean, that says more about him than anybody else.
Well, it's interesting because you're a star of Grey's Anatomy, and many feel that we do have a two-tiered system of justice in this country, but it's one for the rich and famous and the other for everybody else. And a lot of people think that the criteria for being treated favorably in the courts isn't so much race as it is power, privilege, fame, wealth. You would, under any
Sure.
criteria, be considered part of the power privilege group. You're famous,
Sure.
You're handsome, you're a star of a hit show. Why do you feel also perhaps disenfranchised despite all your success?
Because I don't think of just me, I think of a collective group of people. And while privilege is very real, whether it's a class issue that obviously exists, I think that's another thing. I'm glad you bring that up, because people are, this idea of having to explain why it's racial while we're standing in our own blood is silly, I think. It's racial because it doesn't happen to white people. Look at the crack laws. Look at the fact that 51% of crack users are white, but 95% of the people in jail for crack use are black. Look at the fact that prison is one of the most profitable and growing industrial complexes in this country, and they now have for-profit prisons that have a mandated 90% occupancy rate to make money. This is an industry, and these are all fingers on the hand of a gross injustice that's been happening in this country. It has not stopped. We're waiting for it to stop, and that will feel like a triumph. But it's not. There is no question that race is an issue when you look at the amount of boys that are being shot because you feel scared. The idea that feeling threatened is not the same thing as being threatened. It's not the same thing. We pretend that it is, but it's not. This fantasy that the boogeyman is out to get you. What if he was playing Bon Jovi? What if he was blasting Bon Jovi in that parking lot? Would he be able to have his life then? Would that be okay? Would he have gotten a thumbs up and this drunk can go walk back into, and I say drunk because he's drunk, not a criticism of people who are alcoholic, but if you're going to the gas station to get wine after having several rums, that he would have got a thumbs up and kept walking and would be able to keep his life then? I mean, this is preposterous. I think that's the frustration that a lot of Americans are feeling, a lot of folks that I'm talking to, is that we have to keep fighting to be heard and to be treated as human beings. This is not close, this case. This guy is a sociopath. He goes to jail next. Like this.
We'll
this
see.
I think
we'll have to see what the jury decides. The jury.
Yeah, and that, by the way, is not. I don't guarantee that that's going to be the outcome. That's just my personal opinion, certainly.